Our next case is going to be Miss Pamela Griffin. Ms. Griffin, would you please give us your full name and DOC number?
Pamela Lachelle Washington Griffin, 312-312.
Ms. Griffin, let me explain our process to you. First, I'm going to read some information into the record, and then we're going to conduct a pardon interview with you. At the appropriate time, we'll allow those persons who wish to speak to have their input. Speaking today on your behalf is Mr. Norris Henderson, and in opposition, Mr. Jason Harris, who is the victim's brother, as well as George Dozak and Maureen Harris are present, but not speaking. At the end of that hearing, you'll have an opportunity to give us, to say what you'd like to say to the board before we vote. Do you understand our process?
Yes, sir.
This is the matter of Pamela Griffin, DOC number 312312. Her date of birth is August the 12th of 1968. She's classified as a first felony offender. She is currently serving a life sentence on the charges of first-degree murder, aggravated battery, and forgery. Ms. Griffin, does that sound accurate?
Yes, sir.
Your case has been assigned to Mr. Pete Freeman. Would you please answer any questions he might have?
Okay, Ms. Griffin, how old are you?
54,
Okay, and how long have you served on this charge?
32 years.
What is your educational level?
I got a GED.
Okay, Ms. Griffin, tell me what happened. What was going through your mind that evening? What was the deal? What led you to shooting two different men? One of them you didn't even know.
Well, me and the guy, we was smoking cocaine in the woods, and I just tripped out. I shot him, and as I was leaving out the woods, I had a wreck, and the guy that I had shot had a wreck in his truck. And as I was coming down the road walking, after I got out of the wreck truck, and the next man had stopped me, and I ended up shooting him. And I ended up in El Dorado, Arkansas. I went to a friend's house, and I had told my friend what I did and asked him to go get the police for me.
And why would you shoot him? I mean, why did you shoot the first man, the man that you went out there with? Y'all was doing drugs, correct?
Yes, sir. And I was just
And
high.
then you got out the truck. What led you to just shoot him? What events led up to that?
I was just high, tripping. When you tripping high, thinking something was happening that maybe hadn't happened, but I was just high.
And the other man was the same reason, even though he just stopped as a good Samaritan, you were high and you was tripping and you shot him too?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what kind of drugs do you take or were you taking?
Crack cocaine.
Okay, how long did you use crack cocaine? From what age?
Probably since I was about like 15, 16 years old.
Did you ever use anything besides crack cocaine?
I drunk, smoked weed, drank hard liquor, beer, smoked weed.
Okay, have you ever received any treatment?
No more than since I've been incarcerated.
What have you taken since you've been incarcerated?
Took substance abuse. I did anger management. I did Project Metamorphosis. I did parenting. Basically, all the self-help program groups that they have.
So basically, the only drug treatment you received is the substance abuse.
Yeah, the NAAA and relapse group.
What did you learn from them?
Well, I learned that my drug use was really, it causes a lot of damage, and I realized that how drugs stimulate your mind and cause you to do things that you normally wouldn't do.
Have you taken any victim classes?
No, sir.
No victim class. Okay.
She's backlogged for that. She's only been back at LCIW for less than 30 days. So she is on the list to have that class taken.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Morgan. How many children do you have?
2 sons.
Do you have contact with them?
No, sir.
Yeah, looking at the comments, the 2 judges had no comment. Well, 1 judge was unopposed. District attorney is opposed. The sheriff, I don't, they got a mess up right here because they got 1 statement where he's opposed and 1 statement where he's unopposed. No comment from the chief of police. Your family's unopposed. Victim impact statement, I'm going to get to that at the end. Do you consider yourself a drug addict?
Well, once an addict, always an addict, but I'm a recovering drug addict and I don't have the desire to use drugs anymore.
And what's going to be your transition plan and your sobriety plan?
I was going to the Diamond House to transition home and for them going over there, because I know they'll be able to help me to transition back into society.
Okay. Where you going to live? I mean, at this house you're going to live at? How long can you stay there?
I'm not sure. They said 6 months.
Where you'll stay after that?
Well, hopefully that I'll, after being transitioned back into society, I'll be able to work my way up and got my own place and reestablish in a different location other than where I was once lived.
What contributions have you given back to the community? What have you done while you've been in prison to help others?
Well, only thing I've been doing so far is just word of advice. Because I only just got back to LCRW. I haven't really get off into anything like programs to really reach back, but I planned on while I'm here.
Do anything before the flood?
Okay. You have a low risk score. Your need score is moderate. You've had a bunch of write-ups since you've been in prison. I think the last one was in 2019
Yes, sir.
for defiance. Why you had all these write-ups? Over 137.
Well, when I came in as a young 23-year-old girl with a life sentence, and I just basically was giving up on life.
Okay, but your defiance was in 2019. That's not that long ago.
No, that was
What has made you change since that time?
well, I have grown and gotten myself together, and I'm just not the same person I used to be.
Warden, why is a prison record fair and something else medium? A security level was medium. What went into those 2 factors?
Since the flood, we really haven't been screening anybody. We just started screening for minimum status because we hadn't had any road crews or anything of that nature. She maybe would, at this point, since she has been report free, probably qualify for at least 3 at this point, but we just haven't been screening, and she's just been back less than 30 days. So we would do that within 45 days or so.
Okay. I think some of the victims that could talk in this case. What would you say if you had a chance to talk to your victim?
I would let them know that I'm very remorseful for what I did, and I just, hope and pray that they can find it in their hearts to forgive me.
Okay. How many years have you spent in DOC institutions?
I only been left from here for like 4 years, so the rest of the time was spent here at DOC, 31.
Mr. Harris said he thinks about his brother every day. That's one of the victim's brother. He said that the crime ruined his mother's life, as she had never got over losing her oldest son. And he used to play golf all the time with his brother, and now he can't even hardly play golf. So you see the effects that you have on the community and different families?
Sir,
How many years, you said you spent in different state institutions?
I've been here, I was only there 4 years in another institution, then the rest of my time I was at LCIW.
Because like I say, you have very, very few classes for someone that's been in prison for 32 years. And very few that get to the point as to what led to your crime. Mr. Maribel, I'll have a recommendation at the proper time. I have no further questions.
Warden, I realize that she hadn't been there very long, but what can you tell us about her that we haven't discussed today?
She has been down with us close to 30 years. And just because she's came back within the last 20 days or so, we have her on some backlog for some classes, the reentry class, the victim awareness, and living in balance as well. Prior to the flood, not many people were applying to go to the boards. So you didn't have, for lifers, you didn't have the opportunity to be in classes as much since the flood. And then since that time, she was not housed with us. She was at Plaquemines Parish. So she did miss some opportunities for additional classes that opened up, but she is on the backlogs. And I did want to point out that she does have a good reentry plan, as she's going to work with this other group, on her housing and her reentry on the first few months when she gets out.
Thank you, Warden. Mr. Roche, you have a question?
Yes, good morning, Ms. Griffin. How are you?
I'm all right, just a little nervous.
Let's talk about your disciplinary record. On the last annual assessment report that was done in I think May of 2023, you have 137 write-ups, but it's more than that. Some days you had multiple write-ups. I counted over 150 disciplinary write-ups in your 30 years of incarceration. Tell me why you can't follow rules and regulations.
Like I said, the time of those write-ups, some of those write-ups, I was young, and some, like I said, with having a life sentence, it's kind of like you give up hope. You feel like all hope is gone, but I haven't been getting any write-ups lately.
How old are you, Ms. Griffin?
54.
So 4 years ago, you were a lady of 50 years old, and you got a write-up in 2019. Multiple write-ups in 2019. A person that had been incarcerated for 25 years, 50 years old, should not have that many write-ups that close to this hearing.
Sir.
So you can't use the excuse you're young, immature, and you just was incarcerated. You had write-ups in 2019.
The write-up I have got in 2019 was a write-up that I had staged a fight to get shipped Because it was the only way you could get shipped at the time. And I had needed a change. I was just under so much pressure.
So why would you stage a fight?
I mean, because we just to be shipped was we really wasn't fighting. It was just seems to be.
So what about the defiance in 2019? What was the defiance about?
The defiance.
February 2nd, 2019.
The defiance. I think that was the report.
January 19th, aggravated disobedience. February 19th,
I don't quite.
2019,
Well,
we
I
had
don't
we had
remember that.
30. Oh, so what was those about?
I think I got in trouble for going to school. I think that's the one I got in trouble for going to school late. Is that the
Yeah,
one?
it was a GED.
Yeah, I got in trouble for being late for school. that
Ward
week.
Morgan, Ward
Uh-huh.
Morgan, what is a 30-0?
I see it. It was a heated argument. Her and another offender were having a heated argument on that day near the Votech area.
And what was the defiance for?
It was something at the, looks like that was the same day, and she was given a direct order. I guess this was after the initial write-up, and then when she got to the cell block area, it looks like.
And then she had one on January 19th for aggravated disobedience.
Yes, that was, an argument with another offender that she didn't, comply with immediately.
So pretty much the same behavior over and over again.
Yes,
Thank you, Martin.
the one on 119, 2019 was suspended for 45 days.
Thank you for the question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now we'll hear from your supporters. Two other persons have joined us, Ms. Wanda Hughes and Ivy Mathis, who I believe wish to speak. Is Wanda Hughes present? Wanda Hughes? Do we have?
She didn't show up here. Maybe she's there.
That on Zoom either.
I don't see- Is she on?
She was supposed to be maybe on Zoom.
Do we not have her? This is supposed to be people who are in the visitors room there with y'all. Is that is
We just-
Ivy Mathis there?
Yes. Yes, Ivy's here with us.
Okay, are you Miss Mathis?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. What would you like to say, ma'am?
Good morning. I am the reentry specialist with Vote Over Diamond House. And I've grown up with Miss Pam. I am just as impacted myself. I know that we have an excellent reentry plan for her, should she be granted. We are willing to work with Miss Griffin to help her be successful after incarceration. We are partnered with Catholic Charities who assign case management and help her get addressed, help her get acclimated, back into society. And I want to just say this, that growing up in prison is hard adjusting. And I'm not making excuses. And people do change. We are willing to work with Ms. Griffin every step of the way. And I know we initially said 6 months, but it's case by case, and she can stay there up to a year, as long as she needs to, in order for her to not only be successful, but be independently successful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Now we'll hear from Mr. Norris Henderson.
Good morning. Just like Ivy said, after attending the graduation at LCIW and realizing the need that the ladies needed a place to go, we created the Diamond House. And just like Ivy said, welcome to stay there up to, the norm is 6 months, overhead free, but given our circumstances, maybe a year. And I just want to address the thing that Mr. Freeman and Ms. Roche was talking about the write-ups. And I kind of started laughing when I started hearing about the one incident. And I wasn't laughing it was funny, but because I used to inmate counsel. And so I presented people in disciplinary court. And when we would see situations like that, we would call them 357s. They would start off probably with a disrespect, then they get aggravated disobedience, then it would kind of like escalate to a defiance. And it's primarily because in that heated moment, this person just keep running their mouth. And as they're running their mouth, the sergeant is just steady, kind of like just tagging it on to them. And so not to kind of like justify the behavior, but sometimes they put their foot in their own mouth by not just shutting up. And so when Ms. Roche was like, well, all these happen on the same day, they primarily stem from the same incident. Somebody told her to shut it up, and so she just kept running her mouth. But the other thing too, that Ivy told me that Ms. Griffin is a seamstress. And so one of our partners, who's also formerly incarcerated, who actually has a business in Hammond, Louisiana, and is looking for a seamstress. His name is Keith Amity, and he owns Amity Creative Creations in Hammond, Louisiana. And he's willing to give her a job because he has a contract with the Hammond Police Department, altering their clothes and sewing the patches and stuff on their uniforms. And he would definitely welcome her to be one of his employees, given the fact that she is successful with getting a recommendation. I also heard the warden say that because she was outside of LCIW, she missed opportunities to get a lot of programs. And I would just offer the board that given the fact that you're looking for how to have some more programs, that given a recommendation, that one of the criteria could be is that finish these programs, because it's going to be like a 6-month process before she may get something back from the governor, good, bad, and indifference. But it would kind of like put her on the track to give y'all what y'all need in a sense of the academic stuff she needs to accomplish before she leaves. So it's be kind of like the stick or the carrot, Here's the carrot. If you accomplish these things, you're fine and dandy. If you don't, it ain't my fault, And so I would just hope that the board would consider that, one, her age, the amount of time she's been incarcerated. And when I calculated, Ms. Roche said she had 150 write-ups over 31 years or 30 years. That's like 5 write-ups a year. And I would venture to say the vast majority of them probably in the early stages of her incarceration, although 2019 wasn't that far away. But I would just ask that the board kind of like give an opportunity, because one of the things that we never actually have things in place for women coming out, and now we finally do. And this is an opportunity for us to continue to help her. Catholic Charities is one of our partners that provide wraparound services that they need. And I would just, like I say again, just hope that the board would consider that some of these things that she may be lacking in, that the board challenge her to do these things in this interim. If she gets the recommendation, fine. If she don't, she still achieved the thing that y'all put her on course to achieve. Thank you.
Okay, I can't hear y'all. If you want me to just let the victim start talking, nod, and I'll let them start talking, but we can't hear y'all. Go ahead, Mr. Harris.
Yes, good morning. My name is Jason Harris. I have my father, Ray Harris, here. My mother, Maureen, could not make it. All of this coming up, her anxiety levels just up, and it's gonna be too hard for her to attend something like this. I've heard what everybody's been saying. My brother had only been married for 7 days. We did stuff every weekend. And what took place that day was senseless, horrific. And a person that commits that kind of crime does not need to be allowed out in society ever again for no reason. And y'all saying she's been written up over 150 something times. And now there's schools available and classes. Well, after 32 years, I think that's 32 years way too late. I have to think about this every single day of my life, that it was just me and my brother. And some of the stuff that they said when all these proceedings went down back when he was murdered, you know, I had something, I don't remember what it was, that I was supposed to have been with him that day. So more than likely in her frame of mind, we probably both would have gotten murdered. She already tried it once before him. So, no, absolutely not. She got life without parole, and that's the way I see it should be, because I don't have my brother. Dad, you got something you want to say? Can't even believe this is happening.
She has showed no remorse whatsoever.
That's all from the family, Mr. Marabella.
Harris?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, good. We've got you on the phone. Our system is not working the way it needs to be. What we're going to do at this point is we're going to ask Ms. Griffin to give us her statement, and then the board will vote. Ms. Griffin, if you would like to say anything to the board, would you please let us know what you'd like us to know?
I just want to say that, like I said, I'm very remorseful for what I did. And I take very accountability for what I did. I was young, I was on drugs. And if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't do it. I would probably think different if I was in the mind frame that I am now. And I can't take back what I did, but I just pray that the board have mercy on me and allow me a chance just to prove that I can be a productive citizen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Is the board ready to vote? Yes, sir. Freeman? Okay, Mr. Freeman?
Okay, Ms. Griffin, you know, the big problem I got is that he shot one man and shot another man that was a good Samaritan trying to help him. Served 32 years, but you hardly taken any class. So, my vote today would be to deny, but tell you that you take those classes, get some long-term substance abuse, at least take victim awareness, and then reapply. But today I vote to deny.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Ms. Jackson?
Hi, Mr. Griffin. I concur with my colleague. I'm sure your state of mind was impacted by the pain, but that's not an excuse. I do convince that from some more programs So my vote today, likewise, is 10-9.
Mr. Roche?
For Griffin, based on express opposition to the DA's office and law enforcement, adamant opposition to the victim's family in a disciplinary conduct that's unacceptable. My vote is to deny your request.
Ms. Griffin, you have received 3 votes to deny your request. I agree with my colleagues. Your request today has been denied.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if everyone else can hear me. I hand shaking, so hopefully everybody can hear what our decision was. So good luck to you, Ms. Griffin.
Thank you.